Many people are frustrated with having to pay the daily charge for the clean air zone, and even more frustrated when they have to pay a fine because they've forgotten to pay the clean air zone. If you want to know how a lawyer gets out of these, you'll have to subscribe because there's a video coming up on how a lawyer got out of one of these fines, but that's coming up a little bit later. But no one was more annoyed than this pensioner who was told that his vehicle was compliant with the clean air zone, when in fact it turns out that it wasn't. So he was told that this vehicle was compliant with Bristol's clean air zone and that he wouldn't have to pay any charges. Only when he took his wife to hospital in Bristol, he received a fine because he didn't pay the daily charge. Only then it transpired that he realised that his car wasn't in fact compliant with Bristol's clean air zone, and it was only compliant with Bath, which is where he'd assumed that was going to be the same as in Bristol. But in fact, different areas around the country have got different charges and different levels of emissions that are acceptable before you have to pay this charge. That's why it's critically important that you check your particular vehicle for any particular location, because different areas of the country have been given different targets to more quickly get back to what the government considers to be a legal status of air, as in the toxicity and the cleanliness and otherwise pollution within that zone. So you might find that certain areas, such as shown on this chart here, which just shows how the different areas can apply, some of them have no charge and some of them have a charge. Now, until recently, we had a vehicle that I was absolutely amazed had no charge at all to drive through Birmingham, and yet some other seemingly less powerful vehicles had a charge. So I didn't quite understand that, but obviously I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an emissions expert, and of course it all is based off these emissions and the levels of driving through with said emissions that result in you paying a charge or not. So just as another warning to you, if you are driving a vehicle through any one of these cities that operates a clean air zone, you do need to check your own vehicle for each and every area. Otherwise, if you just haven't paid the charge, you might end up with a fine. But as I said, if you want to know how you can potentially avoid these fines, even if you've been levied a fine, you'll have to subscribe, and that video is coming soon. So please make sure you smash the like button and that subscribe button to receive exactly that video as to how a lawyer can go about getting out of one of these fines. It's not necessarily slam dunk, it's not legal advice, but on this occasion it worked. So make sure you subscribe and we'll see you there.